Right now, somewhere in your home, there is a machine that does something almost nobody in human history ever had. It cleans your clothes in under an hour, using warm water without you lifting a finger. For most of the time, humans have worn clothing. That was not just impossible, it was unthinkable. So here is the real question. Before soap, before rivers turned into laundromats, before anyone had a word for detergent, how did ancient humans actually get the mud, the blood, the animal fat, and the sweat out of the only clothes they owned? The answer is stranger, harder, and smellier than you probably imagine. And by the end, you will never look at your own laundry basket the same way again. Start about 100,000 years ago, long before woven fabric existed at all. Early humans wore hide, animal skins, scraped and softened, wrapped and tied around the body. And hide does not wash the way fabric does. Soaking it in water can actually ruin it, stiffening the fibers or causing it to rot. So the earliest form of clothing maintenance was not washing at all, it was smoke. Archaeologist Olga Soffer, who studied some of the earliest known textile impressions preserved in fired clay from sites in the Czech Republic, found evidence that humans were experimenting with plant fiber and cordage far earlier than once assumed, tens of thousands of years before agriculture. But hide clothing itself was typically maintained by hanging it near fire smoke. The smoke dried out oils, killed bacteria, and masked odor. It did not make clothing clean in the modern sense. It made it wearable again. You did not wash your clothes. You cured them the same way you cured meat, using fire as the disinfectant. Now fast forward to when humans began weaving actual fabric, wool, linen, and eventually cotton, somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago. Suddenly there was something worth washing, fibers that could actually absorb water and be scrubbed clean without falling apart. And with that shift came one of the strangest chapters in the entire history of hygiene: urine. Ancient Romans built enormous public laundries called fulonicae, where workers called fulones stood knee-deep in stone vats filled with a mixture of water and human urine, stomping on wool garments for hours at a time. It sounds absurd until you understand the chemistry. Aged urine breaks down into ammonia, and ammonia is genuinely excellent at cutting through grease, body oil, and grime, the exact things wool clothing collected most. Roman cities were so dependent on this resource that urine collection became a taxed commodity. The Emperor Vespasian famously placed a tax on public urinals used to gather it, prompting his son Titus to complain about profiting from something so undignified. Vespasian's reply has survived for 2,000 years for a reason. He reportedly held up a coin and said, "Money does not smell." For centuries, one of the most effective cleaning agents on the planet came directly out of the human body, collected in jars, aged like wine, and traded like a commodity. Meanwhile, in many other parts of the world, the solution to laundry was not chemistry. It was geography. Rivers, streams, and communal washing basins became the center of a repeated, physically demanding ritual. Historian Catherine Aschenberg, who has traced the long global history of bathing and cleanliness practices, describes how in many pre-industrial societies, washing clothes was heavy, collective, all-day labor, almost always performed by women, involving hauling water, beating fabric against rocks, and repeatedly wringing garments dry by hand. Beating clothing against a flat stone was not just tradition, it was mechanical engineering with no machine. The repeated impact loosened dirt trapped deep in the fibers far more effectively than gentle rubbing ever could. In parts of West Africa, South Asia, and the Andes, variations of this method persisted largely unchanged for thousands of years, refined into rhythm, technique, and community, because the physics behind it simply worked. You think of laundry as private, something done alone, folded quietly at home. For most of human history, it was the opposite. It was one of the most social labors a community performed, an entire afternoon spent together at the water's edge. Then there is soap itself, which is far older than most people assume, and far stranger in its origins. Archaeological evidence from ancient Babylon, dating back roughly 4,500 years, shows early soap-like substances made by boiling fat with ash, a formula almost identical to the basic chemistry of soap today. Wood ash contains lye, a strongly alkaline compound, and when lye reacts with animal fat, it triggers a process called saponification, breaking the fat down into a new substance capable of binding grease and water together, letting both rinse away in a way plain water alone never could. Ancient peoples did not understand.